Stop posting about
George Wallace.
I'm tired of seeing it! My friends on TikTok send
George Wallace.
on Discord, it's
George Wallace.
I was in a server, right? And all of the channels are
George Wallace.
I showed my champion underwear to my girlfriend, and the logo, I flipped it, and I said, hey babe, when the underwear
Wallace.
says
Segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever.
I fucking looked at a trash can, I said, that's a bit
Segregation.
I looked at my penis, I think of the astronaut's helmet, and I go, penis, more like
That's right, it is astronomical.
I really do love the campaign trail, and one of the coolest parts about it is the sheer volume of potential for alternate history, especially with the mod features that have been added as of late. There's mods such as the 1992B mod, where Dukakis wins in '88, the 2016 four-way mod between Clinton, Trump, Rubio, and Sanders, or that 1968 Kennedy mod, where Robert Kennedy lives and wins the nomination. Let's also not forget the perfect, glorious, and beautiful 1936 Huey Long mod. All of these mods have really proven that we aren't limited to those 59 presidential elections in our timeline, and throughout browsing the subreddit and the Discord, I have seen really creative and wonderful ideas for alternate history mods. But today, I have one request. For anyone who has ever played the campaign trail, for anyone who has ever given good, liberal answers that have motivated their base, for anyone who has ever called Eisenhower a lemonhead, can we please just shut up about George Wallace? Can we shut up about the memes, please?
What?
No, alright. I know that sounds bad.
Now, let me be clear. There are mods with Wallace in them that are really well written. 1964D is amazing, and it's one of the best mods. Having two controversial candidates for the Democrats and Republicans, along with a third party who actually has a shot at winning, on normal. 1972B is also another good mod. You can either lose literally everything except Alabama, Mississippi, and I think Georgia, or you can win like 400 electoral votes on normal, with the right coalition and the right answers. I think these are good, well-written mods. I like both of these mods, but what I don't like is the obsession with Wallace this community seems to have. There's around 9,000 mentions of Wallace and Wallave on the Discord server, and that's in the same range as Biden or Trump, actual relevant political figures. One comment from the subreddit honestly sums up my thoughts on Wallace. A wise individual, not caused manatee, once said, Wallace was both a very influential, charismatic figure and a fundamentally craven individual who would say and do basically anything for power. He was a moderate in the 1950s, a hardcore pro-segregation extremist in the 1960s, an outsider populist in the 1970s, and a repentant, born-again Christian, pro-civil rights elder statesman in the 1980s. His chameleonic public profile and ever-present nature in a generation of American politics makes him a popular figure when discussing alternate histories and what-ifs. The dude could fit into so many molds, so to speak, and that translates into a game like the new campaign trail very well. But fuck him. George Wallace was a total piece of shit, regardless of what policies or political persona he adopted. I'm not going to deny he is built for a game with alternate history like the campaign trail, and in many of these alternate history scenarios, he can fit into any persona the mod developer sees fit. Want to make Goldwater look like a moderate candidate? Have George Wallace win the Democratic nomination. Want to look like the underdog while Nixon faces re-election? Have George Wallace be the Democratic candidate. Want to deadlock the Electoral College in the South? Oh yeah, have George Wallace run a third-party campaign. But his fascinating and ever-changing public profile does not change the fact that he was, in fact, a horrible person who chose whatever persona benefited him best in that moment. He was two-faced, cunning, and vile. Wallace's main political position was the advancement of his own power and influence, whether that was being insanely racist, acting like an outsider populist, or by repenting because America realized that segregation was bad way later than they should have. To prove all of this, I'm going to time travel. We're going back in time to the 1940s to get George Wallace out of politics. That's right, we're going back in time to the 1940s to get George Wallace out of politics. Okay, well, it's going to take a little while to charge up, So I guess I should just show you all the files I have on Wallace. You can learn a little bit more about him and perhaps why he, honest to God, sucks. George Connolly Wallace was born in, is it Silo? Is it Silo? IDK. The most important thing you need to know is that he was born in Alabama, in the southeast of the state, in fact. To George Sr. and Moselle, he was the oldest of 4 children, and it is said that he had a fascination with politics even at the age of 10. He went to law school and then joined the U.S. Air Force during World War II. He got meningitis during this time and was forced to become a flight engineer. Not so fun fact, he was in the 20th Air Force, which was commanded by General Curtis LeMay, who would later become his running mate in 1968. When he first entered the Alabama House of Representatives at the age of 27, he was very much moderate on racial issues. During the 1950s, Wallace served as the circuit judge of the 3rd Judicial Circuit in Alabama. He was often perceived as very much fair in the courtroom, not taking the plaintiff or defendant's race into account. By now, you may have forgotten that I was talking about George, Segregation Now, Tomorrow, and Forever Wallace. But the reality is, politics really change people. And I think we can all agree that that's the worst kind of politician. The one who will say anything to win. And I mean, anything. In 1958, George Wallace saw a clear path to the governorship of Alabama. As incumbent and racially moderate George Folsom, governor of Alabama, was term limited, Wallace attempted to position himself as a safe replacement for the governor. The NAACP actually endorsed his candidacy. Yes, you heard that right. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People endorsed George Wallace for governor of Alabama in 1958. His main primary opponent, John M. Patterson, ran with the support of the KKK and won by stoking racial fears into a very white and segregationist populace. When talking to his advisors about his loss, Wallace is quoted as saying, and there will be some blanks, "Seymour, you know why I lost that governor's race? I was out-blanked by John Patterson. And I'll tell you here and now, I will never be out-blanked again." And this is the divergent point for Mr. Wallace. Look, being a racist and a segregationist is already by itself a terrible evil. Throwing away your own morals and your dignity and pretending to be a racist for powers is its own separate kind of evil. I'm not here to argue whether or not he was a racist or just pandered to racists. Both options are really horrible. And the point I'm trying to make is, no matter what way you put it, George Wallace was a horrible piece of shit. Now, most people here know about his career from becoming governor of Alabama and onward. I'm guessing you all know about how he made his wife, Lorene Wallace, run for and become governor so he could continue to run things in the background. Then Lorene got cancer, and they proceeded to hide it from the public, and he even lied to her until she died. Or how he ran in 1968 in an attempt to deadlock the election to force an end to segregation. Or the fact that he continued to push stuff, such as opposition to desegregation busing, until he was shot while campaigning in 1972. I'm sure you know all this stuff. To prove my point, I'm going to play a nice game of the new campaign trail while we finish time traveling, as Wallace, with his running mate, and we're just going to lose, just so we can prove that he is a candidate or nobody can what the fuck? Oh damn, the time machine actually worked. I was not expecting that. Okay, ladies, gentlemen, and none of the above, welcome to Alabama, circa 1941. The streets may look pretty, but right now, this state, more so than others, is bleeding racist policies of segregation. Perhaps the morals of time travel are gray, and perhaps I'm messing with the space-time continuum, but Wallace doesn't care about morals. Why should I?
You fool! Did you think it'd be that easy?
What the hell? Who are you? I mean, I know you're George Wallace, but like, what the hell?
I'm George Wallace, but from a different timeline, one where I become president and force segregation in all 50 states.
What, like I was gonna negotiate with him? Wait. Old George Wallace?
Listen, before you kill me or pass me, think of this. Time travel is morally subjective.
Yeah, but what you did was morally wrong.
You're right. Maybe what I did was wrong. Maybe my policies in Alabama hurt many lives. Maybe backwards racist views in the 1960s have helped stall progress on full equality to this day.
But
I forget where I was going. Look, kid, it's about making the future a better place. Go vote for some libs who will pass mail-in voting. Changing the past has unintended consequences. The past has already happened. Go stop the next candidate like me from potentially gaining power instead of altering the timeline big time.
you know what? Yeah, there's bigger fish to fry. I'm gonna go now.
And remember, if a reality television host ever runs for president, you have to stop him.
Yeah, okay, cool. What was the moral of that story? I have no idea. Look, what I've been trying to say this whole time is that George Wallace was a man who would do literally anything for power. Literally anything. And I think we as a community should just stop with the Wallace memes. Don't get me wrong, I understand the whole irony in me saying this, and I know my calls are unlikely to be heard, but I just want more people to realize the extent in which this man changed in order to stay alive politically. A lot of people in this community, including myself, hate more establishment politicians like Nancy Pelosi, Kevin McCarthy, and Mitch McConnell. And while Wallace wasn't exactly the same due to just being a governor and not a member of Congress, so they didn't have the same influence, I see them as the same in the way that they were people who would change their positions to benefit themselves and only themselves. Like I said earlier, Wallace's single position was to do whatever he could to maintain his power and influence. Just because he seems populist, quote unquote, doesn't make him cool. He still believed, or at least heavily preached, in segregation and racial superiority. And for that, I believe that we should just end all these memes, end all the Wallave, end end all those whatevers, the frickin' the mods, and just it's done. Enough of Wallace. If we're gonna worship a populist as a community, we should be worshiping Huey Long. And also play the 1936 B mod, it's the greatest thing ever. Alright, now that this video is done, subscribe or else the subreddit will be filled with something other than unfunny trends like tier lists or Wallave posting. I'm warning you.